What the Surf podcast, episode 4. Our first official beachy on here. Cronulla Junior moved up to Cronulla to the big leagues in the under 17s. First time Olympian, track star, superstar. Bree Masters, welcome to episode 4.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Exciting stuff. Now, your journey as an Olympian is very different. We'll call it that way. So, talk us through you as a young child, 6-year-old, starting nippers at Cronulla. What were your likes? What were your dislikes? What sports were you doing? What were you doing in your other spare times down on the Shire?
Yeah, so my parents put me into so many different sports when I was a kid, and I feel like, I was a very active kid and I was keen to do things, but I think surf life saving, my parents wanted me to be comfortable in the ocean. I think it's so important as Australian kids to get comfortable in the ocean. We're surrounded by so much of it. And I think, when I have kids, that's going to be a thought of mine as well, to put my kids into surf life saving because of that. But funnily enough, I hated the water side of things, like absolutely hated it. Too cold. I did the swim and I did the board, but I absolutely hated those events and I loved the beach events. So I always knew I would be a land crab. But on the other side of surf life saving, my parents put me into little athletics. I did OzTag, soccer, netball. Dancing was a big one for me. I actually went to a performing arts high school. So dancing was my main focus and all these other sports were just like a little side hustle. And I think, as I grew up, I got better friends in surf life saving. I think I really enjoyed, going out on the board, catching waves after nippers on a Sunday. And, I drifted away from athletics and put my focus into surf life saving because, things just started clashing on weekends and it is so incredibly hard to do it all. But yeah, I really loved being by the ocean and with my friends. And nippers is a really fond memory for me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that your fond memories were just hanging out with your friends, but it's so funny knowing that you as a beachy, carnival time, as soon as you put the cap on, anxiety, everything goes through the roof. But Saturday morning, not training session, you're happy to sit out there in 3-foot swells and just catch waves in and out. Am I correct or not?
Yeah, correct. It's funny though when I say I loved going out and catching waves and I hated doing the competition. The swim, I just want to go have fun. Wasn't in it for the swim or board competition, more fun in the water, but more competitive on the beach.
Yeah, because it is tough. Now, with being a dancer, I guess having fast twitch fiber muscles, flexibility, power, were you dancing first or running first, or you just sort of found it all naturally?
I can't really tell you. I'd have to ask my parents what timeline they did, but I just remember it all happening at once. Dancing, I just love dancing. I was so passionate about dancing. All I ever wanted to do was be in a full-time dance company, going to that high school and preparing myself for a career in dance was so important to me. And it's just crazy. I can get, down to that part of my journey later, but how, that all flipped over and I haven't danced in 11 years now, which was crazy because, I dedicated so much of my life to that. My parents put so much money into that, but,
they were also,
yes, so many dance costumes, way too many. But they were also incredibly supportive of my running. And I think, they knew that I had talent there. And that was one of the sports that I kind of stuck with throughout my dancing career as well. My dance teachers used to say, to be a ballerina, you have to be really lean and, not too muscular. And they're like, except Bree, she's a runner. And I would just accept that. I did all my athletics carnivals during school. Just kept with it. And then funnily enough, I chose running over dancing, which I didn't think would happen, but here we are.
And another thing that is transferable from dancing to running is the braids and the good hair.
Yeah, that's true. We've kept that going. Look good, feel good, run good is my motto at the moment. I've got the nails going. We've still got the Olympic ones here with the rings on it. They probably need to be redone soon. There's a funny story behind this though. I'm sponsored by Nike and they had a nail salon in their athlete house. And I was like, yep, going to get my nails done there. And I chose, I don't know why, but I was like, let's do something that matches the track. So I went for a pink nail with a purple aura because the track was purple. And then I realized that they'd given me orange leopard spikes and I was wearing green and gold and I had pink and purple nails. And I was like, there is way too much going on here. And I was actually freaking out the day before I raced because my nails weren't good enough. And I was like, talking to all my friends, they're like, Bree, this is your Olympic debut, you have to feel good, look good, feel good, run good. And I was like, yeah, no, but they're cute, but I don't want to go back and say I don't like them because I do, but they don't match. And I was just freaking out because we want everything to match. And so they ended up going back and getting these yellow ones. And then, the Olympics featured them next to Sha'Carri's nails. And I was like, God, and I have all these photos like this. So I'm like, I'm glad I got my nails redone because that was really important to me, clearly. So
what was the conversation like with the nail tech? What was that conversation like?
I think it was okay. I felt really bad. That's just the person that I am. Like, I don't want to be like, hey, can you change them? I'm so sorry. But they did them happily. And once we got like a feature on the Olympics Instagram, they were reposting it being like, nails by us. So I think it worked out in the end.
Nice. So all the anxiety, everything gone, look good, feel good, run good, all that sort of stuff there. Now,
Yeah.
anxiety trying to go out a board at a carnival compared to heat number 1, lane 7 next to Sha'Carri Richardson. What was that like?
Look, I'm going to say the board at Nippers wins the anxiety because I just hated it. And then, one of the things I said to a couple of my friends and my coaches, I said, I felt incredibly calm out there, like surprisingly enough. They're like, were you scared going out next to Sha'Carri? I said, no, I was actually jumping in circles when I found out she was in my heat, let alone the lane next to me. It's not every day that you get to run against the reigning world champion and then also get put into the semi-final of death with the Olympic champ to be, as well as the reigning world champ, and then Shelly Ann if she did run. So yeah, I just kind of like took it on board and just was excited with it all because it's not every day that you get to do that. And yeah, I was probably more excited than I was anxious, which was weird because usually I'm super nervous going into a race, maybe 2 days out, and I didn't get nervous. And I was like, am I ready? Like, is this normal? But in the end, I was well relaxed and excited and it all paid off.
And relaxed is what you were. So that back end, that last 40 metres coming home, so relaxed, was 11:26, season best.
Yeah.
That was an amazing result.
Thank you. Yeah, no, my start is not usually the best, so I always know that I have to stay like calm and composed and trust that my back end will come into play and just not tense up or freak out and yeah, usually with those women who I know will be running sub 11, just use them, use their speed, jump on the back of them, try and stick with them. Like, yes, they may blow you away out of the blocks, and I'm not at that level yet, but like I want to keep racing against these women to get better. So, yeah.
Yet is the key word. So, what does the future hold then for you?
Pardon?
What does the future hold for you? What's coming up?
So right now I'm on a very well-deserved break. I need a break. I think I've had 6 weeks off in the past 3 years. It's really hard being an Australian track and field athlete, particularly because our domestic season is just like the surf life saving season. It's that like, if you want to start as early as November, you can. But for me, it's January to April, with nationals and Aussies being around at a similar time. And then, if you do qualify for these world events or you want to go have an international season, you've got the European season starting basically in May through until the end of Olympics, World Champs, whatever is in that year, Commonwealth Games. So it's been a tough few years and my body is definitely saying I need a break. So we'll see how long I'll have a break for. Usually gets like 2 weeks and I'm like, coach, I'm ready. He's like, stay having a break. It's like the motivation comes back. I'm eager to like get moving again. So I'll have to kind of just, go for a walk, do some workouts at the office that I can't usually do and just have fun for a little bit. But looking ahead, you've got another world champs next year in Japan at the Tokyo Olympic Stadium. So I went there this year for a race and I'd love to go back there again. So I'll have, individual and relay on my horizon again. And, there's World Indoors coming up again next year. So, potentially go run a few 60 meters indoors, which I've never done. And it's obviously my weakness. So hopefully, I can put a lot of focus on that and try and get better in that part of my race. So that's just a kind of thought at the moment. And 4 years away is a long time until the next Olympics. I'd like to say that I'll be there and I'll try, but I'm also 29 and getting married at the end of this year. So, I also have a family in my mind. So, I've seen a lot of inspiring women go and have kids and make a comeback. So, I'd love to think that I could do that. Not really sure what that looks like just yet, but I still hope there's so much more in my sporting career that I can achieve in the next 4 years.
But even though you're 29, you're technically still young in a track standpoint, right? Because you've been officially on the track for 5 years. Now, if we can go back 5 years, so Sunny Coast, you finally got the gold, solid finish over the previous year, second to EJ, come and take the gold at Sunny Coast, and then your train of thought for the next 3 to 4 months, where obviously, Coach Ryan Hoffman was like, we need to get you on the track. Have a think about it. Well, talk us through that whole process, conversations with the family, friends, and then I guess possibly even looking at, you would have had to reset your goals, right?
Yeah, so it wasn't Sunny Coast. It was actually at Kurrawa or Broadbeach. Um, I remember because I was at my home beach.
Yes.
Wasn't exactly at Kurrawa, but it was like down the road a little bit. Yeah, I'd been gunning for that open title for so long, racing up many age groups and getting a lot of age group wins, but never really cracking that open gold. Seconds, thirds, seconds, thirds. And I feel like my track career is almost repeating that in Australia. I love to get second or third. I've got second 3 times at a national championships on the track. So we were hunting that gold again. But yeah, after I won that, I mean, it was just like a relief of so many emotions that I'd been working so hard for. And in that moment, there was no like, oh, I want to go to track or like, what's next? Like, I was so happy and content. And it took like a few months for someone to, I still went, I think I went away at the end of that year and I did the International Surf Rescue Challenge in South Africa.
Yep.
And yeah, I came away with a win in both events on 2 days and the overall win with Australia. So that was epic. And when I got home, I think that's when my thoughts started to kind of spark with, oh, maybe I should go to university. Maybe I should get a job. I'm getting a bit older now. I'm not really making much money here. What's next? And, I felt like I'd almost achieved everything that I wanted to. And yeah, there was no like next level. It's not an Olympic sport. I'd won a world championships in the Netherlands in 2016. So yeah, I kind of lost a bit of motivation. And at the time I started dating my now fiance, Matt, and he's in track and field. He does a lot of gift racing. He's a Stall gift winner as well. So Hoffy has a history in gift racing also, and they kind of both encouraged me to kind of go, oh, like go try gift racing, it might be a little bit more exciting, do this, do that. And I did the Stall gift in 2019 and I got third.
Yes.
So that was really exciting. I really loved chasing and just the atmosphere. And then, Matt was doing track events and he was like, I'm coming to Queensland. He was from Melbourne at the time. And he was like, come up, give it a go. You train on track. And I was like, yeah, like I know of track. I used to do track, but I was never really keen to go back into it. And then, yeah, it was kind of like, we've got nothing to lose here. I'll go and enjoy it with Matt. And yeah, Hoffy and a couple of my teammates were kind of encouraging me to give it a go as well. And I went out there around 11:63, which was mixing it in with the best at the time. And, my teammates were like, oh, you could go to the Tokyo Olympics as part of the relay. And I was like, me. I was like, go to the Olympics. Like, I thought it was absolutely crazy. And here I am just kind of like, laughing along, giving it a go. And it was such a nice change because I had nothing to live up to. No one knew who I was. And I just had fun with it. And I enjoyed my time doing it with Matt. And yeah, it quickly turned into a very serious focus for me. At that same competition, one of my teammates said, I see you running 11:3 one day. And I thought 11:3, like, that's close to what like Sally Pearson and stuff were running towards the end of their career. And, Sally Pearson is like up here in my mind. And then I came back from the 2022 Oregon World Championships with an 11:29 to my name. So that was a really like full circle moment for me. And, I think I've been riding, it's been 5 years, but I'm still riding that train of this is all like still new to me. I'm new here. Like I'm not supposed to be here. Like, so I'm trying to keep that in my mind because I think it helps me stay relaxed. But also, having a fine line of being really switched on and really focusing on what I want to achieve and what I believe I can do. Because yeah, I'm not new here anymore. I need to stop thinking that and knowing that I can mix it in, and I am mixing it in with the best in the world. So yeah, it's been a journey and not one that I thought I would be doing. But yeah, I could have retired at 23 and just gone to uni, which I ended up doing my uni degree and I'm working in marketing. So I'm juggling it all. But yeah, just I guess you can't really plan anything and you just kind of got to go with the flow and follow your passions. And my family and my fiance and everyone's been super supportive of it. So yeah, it's been awesome.
But a little bit of imposter syndrome, I guess, kicking in. That's been there for probably 5 years now. But who are the people you look to get that feedback from to help you reset your mind? Because previously, when you would have been with surf, you're doing your flags turns, sprints after sprint after sprint, jump in the ocean, wash it all off, reset.
Yep.
How does that work in the track? What do you do to I guess reset that focus and then get that feedback and then reset those goals for where you need to, or obviously where you've headed to now, being a one-time Olympian?
Look, I'm going to say not much has changed, which is crazy to me. I've been with Hoffy for 11 years now. So, I'm still doing, training's obviously evolved over the years, but I'm still doing everything that I've done with him. Not much has changed. Our relationship has stayed the same. I'm still training with the local group of beachies down at Kurrawa, which I absolutely love. it's nice coming into some fun, bubbly, like energy at training. But also people who can match me on the track. A lot of the boys push me along, and I'm really grateful for that. So I have some really great training partners. But yeah, honestly, I don't think much has changed. I learned a lot more about the track circuit and how I can qualify for these events. And, I was really lucky to have Matt by my side to kind of guide the way and make me feel comfortable at track meets and traveling around Australia. And now I feel like I know more than him. But yeah, Hoffy has kind of just been the backbone of my programming and my training. And then I kind of take the lead on, what competitions I want to do, which ones are important, how we're going to qualify. So it's really like a team effort. I've also got an agent who helps me get into meets overseas to get those valuable points to qualify for things like World Championships and Olympics. And I've got now new strength and conditioning coaches up at the QAS. I had one when I first started doing track. I actually tore my hamstring early on. I think it was in 2020. It was in the Olympic year that got moved. So I think it was in 2021 in January, which was crappy timing. But I ended up coming back at nationals 8 weeks later and running a PB at the time. So, it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. And, I would have been in that relay team should we had qualified, but we were 0.06 too slow. And we can probably blame COVID for that qualification process because a lot changed. But yeah, so I managed to get a strength and conditioning coach at the QAS with support from Athletics Australia to help rehab that. And then, now I have another strength and conditioning coach, Pat, who helps me with all of that. I've got dietitian, physio. So there's been a lot more support that's come into play as I've progressed in track and field. And it is quite different to what I was doing in surf lifesaving, but in a sense the same. So yeah, I just tried to keep it the same and go with the flow and not think too much into it. Because, don't change what's not broken. People are like, oh, is Hoffy a track coach? I was like, yeah, he is. And we're doing really well. Like, why would I leave? Like, I love Hoffy. Like, we have such a great relationship and he's done so well with me and I'm forever grateful for that. And it's really cool to achieve what we did on the beach and also achieve what we've done on the track together. So it's really super special for us.
Yeah, so if mind, body and soul are all in sync, then obviously the results that are going to come through. Now, speaking of results, your heat got you through the semi-final. First person since 2000.
Yeah.
First female to make a semi-final since 2000. I know from the surf life saving circles, we're like, oh yeah, of course, Bree's been fast forever. This is amazing. So proud of her. But to see you in the blue ribbon event all over the news, Channel 7, Channel 9, everyone just blasting it everywhere. How did that make you feel as an athlete? And then, the family must have been over the moon as well.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know that was a thing until I got back to my phone and it got posted. And I was like, wow, okay. Like, I don't really look that deep into things. Like my one goal was just to make the semi-final, hopefully run a PB, run my best and just enjoy it. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's amazing. But, World Champs for us is a very similar level of competition to the Olympics. And it is so incredibly hard to make the semi-final. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Just to qualify for the event in the blue ribbon event is so hard. Like the 100 meters has got so much depth. So, all sprinters, our one goal is to make that semi-final and then, progress onwards from there. So when I saw, I didn't think I would get a automatic qualification. So when I saw like a big Q next to my name, I think there's also photos of me crossing the line where I thought I got third and I've got like my mouth wide open in shock. Like, did I really just do that? Because I think I went in like second last fastest and then came out third. So, I was shocked, but also like knew that I had the capability to do that at the same time. And yeah, I was just like full of emotion. There's photos of me that I can see like my goosebumps. It was all a blur that moment. It all went so fast, but it was so exciting. And yeah, my family was pumped. Matt was pumped. He was in the grandstand behind me at the start line in the family and friends section. He's got all these videos of him just shaking because he was so nervous. But what also was really comforting was that when I went out there and I did my warm-up block start and I turned around to walk back to my blocks, I could see Matt in a bright green shirt just waving and I'm like waving at him. So yeah, it was a really calming moment and really exciting. And I just kind of took it all in. And yeah, it's still crazy to think that I was the first in 24 years to do it. But I hope that inspires, the next generation to also do that and know that they can do that because, yeah, I don't know. I can. It's so wild.
It's nuts. Yeah, like a beachy from Cronulla. So you're taking the girl out of the Shire still in the girl, but to come through, with that grit and determination at that back end to be, like you said, 24 is our first one in there is nuts. But big stage, bright lights. The interesting thing I find is that all your best results come on the bigger stages. So World Championships, um, over when he's qualified for the 4x1, and you had to get through when the chips are down and the stages at the brightest. You always perform. So whether or not it's a Australian final under lights, but it probably goes back to even your early days when you were dancing on stage, right? So you've got your time to cue 5, 6, 7, 8, do it.
Yeah, I guess that's correct. And that all comes down to communication with my coach and Hoffy's programming and getting me to peak at the right time. And then, the communication with my strength and conditioning coach as well. So, I think 2 years ago, my strength and conditioning coach said to me, this program is called Paris 2024. And I'm like, whoa, okay, well, we've got world championships to go first. But, that was always a long-term goal. So, you can't really peak too much during the season. And it is extremely hard, like I said, as an Australian athlete, because you're peaking for, your nationals, your Oceanias, if you make that, which is one that I didn't make this year. Unfortunately, I got sick at nationals and that kind of screwed up that selection. But that's really valuable points in terms of qualifying for a major championships and sets you up for 2 years. And then, you're peaking at the Olympic Games as well. So it is really hard from a coach's perspective to kind of program that and make sure you peak at the right time. But somehow, Hoffy knows what he's doing. Pat knows what he's doing. And, I just put all my trust in them to make sure that I'm peaking at the right time. I follow all the instructions, all of the training programs, and just do everything that I can to peak at the right time. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's also something about performing in front of thousands of people that I just love. My dancing background, I've performed at School Spectacular many years in New South Wales. I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
It is? Okay. Yeah, and that was a lot of people. So I think, there's so many foundations in my career that prepared me for these moments. And yeah, I love being able to show the world what I can do and what I've been working for alone behind the scenes outside of what I share on social media. And just really taking in the moment and just knowing that, this moment's not going to last forever. Give it everything you got, enjoy it. And maybe there's a part of me that, when I'm relaxed, I feel better rather than just being super anxious, because I feel like the process of qualifying for the Olympics was way more stressful than actually being at the Olympics. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think, most of my fastest times are overseas. Most of my PBs are overseas.
Maybe you just like to travel.
Something about overseas, yeah.
So good. Now, family, you left up and left 17 years old, finished year 12 as a baby, as a young 17-year-old. I'm going to chase beach sprinting. I'm going to chase flags, making the move north. Such a young age. Must have been daunting, but you would have learned so many life lessons so early.
Oh yeah, it was so daunting. I was lucky at the time. I had a boyfriend that kind of, showed me the ropes and had a lot of comfort in him. I've known a lot of friends who move up by themselves with absolutely nothing. So I was grateful to have that. But yeah, my God, it taught me so much. I mean, just throw yourself out of home and jump in the deep end. And yeah, I feel very independent now. It's definitely helped me grow up a lot. And, I went through a lot in those first few years, because before I moved up, I actually had appendicitis quite badly. And I had surgery, and it really, really, really did rock me. And there was a few years after I moved up that I didn't see any results on the beach. It was incredibly tough. But just really working hard to kind of get back to where I was. And I remember, I think it was in 2015, I got bronze in the sprint, open sprint, for the first time I'd medaled or seen any good result in 3 years. And I just cried. And my sister was like, why are you crying? You got bronze. You've got so many golds before. I was like, no, I'm back. I didn't, then the year before I missed out on the final. So that was really upsetting to me. So going through all of that, working, paying bills, learning things the hard way, I remember I have this vivid memory of Dad when I said, I'm moving to the Gold Coast. He's like, all right, well, you got to get a job. I'm not going to pay for your rent or anything. And I was like, okay, fine. I went upstairs and I started Googling jobs. And at the time I worked at Top Juice at Miranda Fair. And I was like, I'll just get a juice job. That's easy. So I applied for Boost Juice at Pacific Fair. And I ended up getting the job later that day. It was that quick. And I walked back downstairs and I said, Dad, I got a job. He's like, no way.
So my baby's leaving. She's gone altogether. Yeah.
I'm like, bye. And I just remember working so hard at Boost Juice to save up every single penny to go over to the world champs in Netherlands or France or wherever it was. So yeah, it definitely taught me a lot of life lessons, and it's taught me how to work hard and prioritize things for my running and what's going to benefit me, and kind of not prioritize other things. Social life has kind of taken a bit of a back burner in the last couple of years, and just to kind of achieve what I have today. But in saying that, I'm still social, just not as social as probably some other people.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we spoke about a lot with the other Olympians about sacrifices. So, probably socially and emotionally, how hard has that last 3 years been? You know, with you saying you've realistically only had 6 weeks off.
Yeah, incredibly tough. I mean, like I said, I've still been riding that roller coaster of like, I'm not supposed to be here. This is also awesome. I didn't think I'd be doing this. But there has been some really, really challenging moments. And like in particular this season was so challenging for me. Like not one thing went to plan of like how I planned to qualify for the games. I've had multiple hamstring injuries, multiple niggles. I mean, you're not running fast enough, you don't have a niggle. I've had hamstring tendinopathy or tendonitis, whatever you call it, for like a year now. I live on anti-inflammatories. It's not good. I'm off them now, having a break. But yeah, it's incredibly tough, and it's an emotional roller coaster because 1 minute you're flying colors, I'm running so well, to the next where you get sick the day of national finals and literally feel like you're running in a dream and like you can't move. Like, I don't know if you've experienced that before. You're trying to like run away from someone, but you can't. That's what it felt like. And just like I felt like my world came crashing down and that my Olympic dream was not going to be, because that affected my Oceania Championship selection. So it's crazy how I know the swimmers, they've really got to perform on one day. Their trials is the trials. For athletics, it's a little bit more flexible, but yeah, it's so hard to describe, and it's all part of the journey, and I probably wouldn't change it for the world, and I'd do it all over again to achieve what I did. And how tough it was to qualify for the Olympics this season probably made it all that more rewarding and memorable. But yeah, I mean, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But yeah, you've got to make a few sacrifices and kind of push through the crappy stuff to achieve the good stuff.
Now, you alluded earlier about a little bit of beach work you do, I guess, sometimes when you're in the vicinity of the guys that are down there. Throwing it out there, if you were to come back this year, though you can't because it's the Blue Ribbon event and you can't actually put your feet on the sand in a competitive standpoint, Chloe Mannix Power, could you beat her in a sprint, and could you finally get EJ?
I'd like to say so. I can technically compete whenever I could do world championships in how many weeks? I've kept proficient. Yeah, I've stayed proficient. I'm long service member at Cronulla, so I don't have to do all my patrol hours. So I can go down and compete. I don't know. I sometimes jump on the beach at training when they have a beach session. Hoffy likes me to keep my feet strong because, putting hard-plated shoes on, weakens the feet a little bit. But I'd like to say I'd be super competitive. I actually went down. I don't know if I'd beat them or not. I'd like to try. And take it back to the old days and me and EJ and go and but I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, I did beach flags last year when I came home from World Championships on my break because our coach Mel, she was finishing up, and I trained alongside of her when I first moved up. I've got so many fond memories with her, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go down and do her last session and surprise them. And I was like, guys, I'm here for beach flags. And she's like, Bree, I think you would be really competitive right now, like watching that. I hadn't done a beach flag turn in like 3 years, 4 years maybe.
It's just, isn't it just muscle memory?
Yeah, I think so. It felt weird. I said I'd probably get a sore back or something, and Hobby's like, don't injure yourself. But yeah, I think, it's all muscle memory, and I probably jumped back on the beach as fast as I left it. But at the moment, there's no goals there, and it's so hard to juggle both of them at the same time. And yeah, all my focus is on track.
Yes, travel the world. Now, coming from the beach onto the track, how hard was it, I guess, technique-wise, would you had to learn like a new strike? Because obviously beach sprinting, you're really hitting with that flat foot, trying to explode off, to, I guess, having the track and the spikes.
Yeah, look, it's so different. And like, if you said go run on the beach at the World Champs next week, I'd probably fall over in my block start if I didn't adapt properly, because yeah, one thing that I struggle with is my start and my transition. So on the beach, you're jumping out of holes in the sand, like down in the sand.
Literally, yeah.
And you're having, just quads up, get your knees up and kind of like prance and skim across the top. Where on the track, you've got a really nice, hard, bouncy surface, and you want to use that for speed and like to propel forward, which I can't figure out yet. Like, I'm getting better and better as
we're still only new to the sport, right? 5 years, it's still new.
Yeah. And like, I looked at my stats from the Olympics, and I'd actually beat Shikari to 10 meters, and I was like, no way. And then I just went backwards, but we'll claim that. So I'm slowly working out. I think I'm getting down pat my jump out in my first few steps, and just learning how to have low heel recovery. So on the sand, you obviously want to lift your leg out, where on the track, you want it to kind of come close to the ground so that you're not, giving any time away. And then I need to continue that in my transition, which looked so bad at the Olympics, because you could just see me get out and then go backwards and then come back. So I know that once I figure all that out and I put more work into it, because it doesn't happen in a second, that I could have something really special there if I put my whole race together. But yeah, it is very fundamentally different, because it's a completely soft surface to a hard one. I would love to see like the Olympic final go for it on the sand and see what happens. It would be very interesting, because I feel like, all of them will just go for, pushing down into the ground, and you just go nowhere, you just sink. But yeah, I'm very cautious that if I do go back to sand, will those bad habits, which aren't bad habits on the sand, come back out on the track as I'm trying to like get rid of them?
So you'd be sniping in the first 15 meters, and then that'd be the end of it.
Yeah.
Now, something more fun. Talk us through how uncomfortable the beds were in the, the athletes' village, and what was the highlight of the athletes' village, and also any celebrity sightings where you're like, geez, look who that is.
Yeah, unpopular opinion. I loved cardboard beds.
Post about it? No,
honestly, I had all these ideas. I'm going to post about this. I'm going to go around the village, and I was like so focused on my race that like, when I get into the zone, I very like put my phone away, and like I don't want to create any content. So I didn't really take too much, and I thought there's enough out there for everyone to see everything.
So much.
But we as athletics, we get there in the second wave, towards the back end, because we don't compete until the end. So like all of the swimmers and I think the water polo girls, they all arrive first and experience the hardness of those beds. And then, the AOC was like, let's get some toppers. So by the time we got there, Athletics Australia had already organised mattress toppers for us. So I didn't really try it without the mattress topper, but with the mattress topper, it was totally fine. It was probably one of the best beds I slept in this whole Europe trip, or in Europe in general. I sleep on a firm bed at home. So, it wasn't too much different to that. Anyway. Yeah. And they were super sturdy. And eco-friendly, so
ticking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then, did you get a chance to get out and watch any of the other Aussies compete in anything?
No, I didn't. It was really hard for me because I arrived like 2 to 3 days before my 100 meters, so it was so hard to not walk around the village. So when we got there, everyone's like super excited to try these activations and see everything and go here and go there, and it's quite a big space. You can ride bikes around, and there was buggies and stuff, but I was just trying to be cautious of not clocking up too many steps. And I think I'd clocked too many steps, and I was stressing out. So when I got there, I think the next few days I had like 11,000 plus steps, which is like massive for me. Like I'm not usually like that because I work a sit down job, and and my legs were actually really sore, and I was like stressing out I wasn't going to run good because I just done too many steps. So the coach that was assigned to me like actually put me on like a limit. She's like, you can't go over 6,000 today. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just like sitting in like the village area watching the TVs, and actually achieved that goal the day before I raced. So I was happy about that. I didn't really, explore around too much. And then after my 100 meters, we also had relay. So then I had to be really cautious of not doing too much then. And then once relay was done, I think I had like 2-3 days before I was out of the village. So I was just trying to like do everything at once. But I guess like my favorite part would just be kind of, going like riding a bike around the village. I was with Zoe Hobbs. She's also an ex-beach sprinter, Kiwi.
Yes. Fastest lady ever in the history of the world from Kiwi land. Yes.
Yep. Another beachy. We just got to ride around the village and take a look at all the country setups. We actually went and got matching tattoos together. Oh, you can't really see it. We both got some Olympic rings.
Yes, very good.
Which is really cool. We've spoken about that because we thought if we made our first Olympic team together, we have a photo of us in 2015 on the beach at Aussies. Let's go do it together in the village. So kind of crammed it all into 3 days.
That you did. Now, relationships obviously a huge thing. Saying Zoe, one of ex-beachy, mate, still hanging out. How many of your close network is still predominantly based from, your time within surf life saving? Not that it's finished, but being on the beach with them.
Yeah, look, it's still a few. I might not see them as often anymore, but when I do, like there was how many surf life saving athletes in Paris, and I don't know how we managed. I don't know if you saw the photo. but we
Yes.
managed to get a photo
Everyone's
of all
for it.
of us, yeah, at the closing ceremony. And like, we were trying to just grab anyone, and I don't know how that ended up happening and how we got everyone in that photo. I think there was still a few missing. But
I
I
heard it
hadn't
was
seen
you that organised it. That's what the Ella
I,
and
I
Bree were
I
saying.
suggested it. I suggested it, and then Ella started like pulling everyone together, and Ali Bull and stuff. But yeah, I hadn't seen Ali. Riley Fitzsimmons lives like down the road, but I don't see him very often. And like, I've known all these guys back when I was competing in surf, and it's so good to see them again, because it's like nothing ever, like, we haven't parted ways,
Yeah.
and everything's still the same. Um, but yeah, with social media these days, you get to keep up with everyone's lives without, we're all super busy. I like to say I've had like 3 lives. I've had my dancing, my surf life saving, my athletics, and I've also got my work. So it's really hard to stay in contact with everyone, but it's nice with social media to kind of stay across what everyone's doing. And then when you do get to these events, or you do get to see them again, I live with an Ironman at the moment. He's from New Zealand, and me and my other housemate went down and watched him at the Shore and Partners Ironman Classic, or whatever they call it, the other day. And it was really cool to go back down and see, the place where I used to be and support. And I was like, I used to commentate the Nutri-Grain series. Like, that was weird. But yeah, it still feels like home, even though I'm not around it as much.
Yeah, it's unbelievable the pathways that do come with surf life saving to get us through. Now, final words. What would you say to our younger nippers at home who have got aspiring for goals, or just moving forward? What words do you have for them, especially for your mates down in the Shire?
I think for me, no goal is too big. I always thought like, oh, I'd never be able to achieve that. I'm not good enough to do that. I'm just a beach sprinter, or I just do this. Yeah, no goal is ever too big. And if you work hard, I definitely believe that you can achieve whatever you want to. You just have to give it a go, and that's all that matters. If you don't achieve it, then at least you gave it your best.
Beautiful. All right, Bree Masters, 8th fastest woman in Australian history, first semi-finalist since 2000, and our best number 2 runner in the 4x100 relay. So the results are all of our best teams have had you in it. Crazy.
Yeah, that's wild, because I've only been in it for 5 years. It's like, I read something that's the most prolific relay runner, and I was like, really? I was like, I feel like I haven't been here for very long.
That could be a t-shirt, I
Yeah,
reckon.
pardon?
LSKD, prolific relay runner. That could be it. Something.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thanks for joining us. Good luck trying to stay off the track and recovering. And we look forward to watching your progress for LA.
Hopefully. Well, I don't know. We'll say world champs next year.
Excellent.
As a
Beautiful.
start.
Thanks for joining us, Bree.
Thank you.